Before I start today's video, I want to give a big shout out to the Quantum Astrophysicist Guild for providing me with an early copy of the game on Nintendo Switch. Thank you guys so much. The Ambassador Fractured Timelines is a twin-stick fantasy shooter developed by Tiny Dino Games. In doing a small amount of research, this appears to be the debut of sorts for Tiny Dino Games, as I can't find any other titles developed by them. The publisher, however, is the Quantum Astrophysicist Guild. Try saying that 3 times fast. Their president, Ty Taylor, is the mastermind behind action puzzle game Tumblestone, which some of you may have heard of. When I received a Twitter DM containing the download code for this game, I was really excited. However, I watched the incredibly charming trailer they provided, and I'll be completely honest, I wasn't sure this game would be for me. I'm happy to report that with the time I've spent playing this game thus far, it is a good time. I feel it is important to note that these are my impressions of the game after around 8 hours of gameplay. I have not finished the main story, and would like to refrain from calling this a full review. I'd be lying if I told you I'm familiar with this genre. If I were to give an off-the-wall comparison to the Ambassador, Hotline Miami comes to mind. It isn't a perfect comparison, but some aspects of the gameplay are definitely similar. You play as Gregor, an ambassador of time. He's a fresh face within the Eternal Fellowship. He also has lovely whiskers. Unfortunately, as he is learning to use his newfound powers, the capital city of Tamaris is destroyed. You're chosen to track down those responsible and restore the land that they obliterated, even if it means hopping across timelines. Fractured timelines. The game starts you off with a very quick and painless tutorial. It wasn't long before I had a grasp on the game's mechanics. Kudos to Tiny Dino Games. Tutorials in many games can feel long and drawn out, and I just appreciate the fact that this one was not. Control-wise, this game handles quite well. You use the left stick to move Gregor, and the right to aim. L and R switch between both of your equipped weapons, and ZR is used to shoot. ZL stops time. This is an incredibly useful ability for what lies ahead. Do not make the same mistakes I made. I forgot to use it most of the time, and suffered more than necessary. Poor Gregor. I'd originally thought it was only useful in situations such as crossing a falling bridge or stopping arrows. It is most definitely a key tool for many combat sections as you progress through the game. I quite like the combination of stopping time and attacking, especially when stasis is used to hit large objects at enemies. So satisfying. All in all, the controls are tight and definitely a strong point of this title. The game has melee weapons and magic weapons. Throughout your journey, you will acquire a variety of both types. They all vary in pros and cons depending on the situation. Examples of melee weapons are swords, spears, and crossbows. When it comes to more close-range weapons, Gregor will fling them at his targets. Some boomerang back to him, and others you must retrieve. The magic weapons use up mana, which is the standard protocol, of course, and those include magic wand type doohickeys and even magic swords. There's a fair bit of diversity between the weapons, but I found myself sticking to the one I liked most, as some of them felt downright useless in conjunction with my playstyle. You also collect different suits of armor, which again have their pros and cons. Let's shift over to the story. For me, the story isn't my driving force behind playing a game. That doesn't mean I don't like a good tale, however. The Ambassador Fractured Timelines leaves much to be desired in this department. It starts off strong, but quickly gets shoved aside, sadly to the point where I can't recall many notable advancements to the plot. I highly recommend talking to the NPCs strewn about some of the levels, as their dialogue did make me chuckle here and there. There are also 20 collectible journals that give insight to some of the backstory, but I've only found one of them, and can't comment on how much they add to what is already there. There's a nice amount of fun and challenge in this title. That is where I think the game truly shines, aside from its stellar controls. It can get a tad repetitive due to lack of variety in enemy types, but I still found myself having a blast. Depending on your skill level and the difficulty setting, it doesn't take long for chaos to ensue. You must keep aware of your surroundings at all times. While many of the enemies can be picked off with 1 to 3 shots, some require more attention, and when you pile them on top of each other, it's easy to get overwhelmed. The amount of health you have varies depending on your choice in armor, but regardless, it doesn't take long for enemies to take you out. Food can be found by killing Bunny Fufu or in barrels and boxes, but it is scarce, so it's best to try to avoid taking damage when possible. Each area in the game is broken up into levels. If you perish, it will start you right at the beginning of whichever level you're currently on, so the punishment is not overbearing. As a matter of fact, I haven't seen any bears in this game at all. I really took a liking to the boss battles that I've faced so far. I mean, I won't say that they didn't make me ball up my fists, scream out in agony, scare my wife, my dog, and my neighbors across the street, but I find them to be pretty creative, and they were quite fun once I got the hang of them. I also like that you don't actually know who destroyed the land that you're trying to restore, so you just take out people that might not have anything to do with it. In terms of visuals and sound design, the game gets a pass in my book. I know that pixel-based indie games are overdone, and this one is not jaw-droppingly gorgeous by any means, but I quite like the look of the environments and character designs. I don't know why, but the human characters remind me of the Swedish chef from the Muppets, especially this guy. Bork, bork, bork. I think if one were to go look at stills of the game, they wouldn't be very impressed, but in motion, the game looks really nice. The sound effects add a nice layer over everything, along with the soundtrack. The gibberish when NPCs talk is pretty goofy, except for when you fail at the same boss 50 times. I won't say that the music's super memorable, but it is really nice. I think it accompanies the aesthetic of the game really well. Overall, I think this is a valiant effort from Tiny Dino Games, and most definitely put them on my radar for future titles. I will most definitely finish the game, and hopefully my Joy-Con won't be launched too far out of my window before that happens. Truthfully, I recommend giving this one a shot. It's going for $14.99 on the Nintendo eShop, and it's also available on Xbox One and Steam. The game even won some awards, which is awesome. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. And once again, thank you to the Quantum Astrophysicists Guild for providing me with this game. It was truly my pleasure. Okay, that's all the time I've got. I've got to get back to playing Animal Crossing on my Nintendo GameCube, so I can put out Toadstool Gaming Tales Episode 1. So look forward to that soon. Be sure to hit the like button and leave a comment below. And hey, stick around and subscribe. I've got more content on the way. If you want more from me, I'm part of a podcast called Nintendo Outcast. You can find us at nintendoutcast.com. We're also on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, and many other places where you can find podcasts. Take care, guys, and stay safe. I'll see you next time.